Welcome, everyone, to the Modern Day Overthinker podcast. My name is Collin, and I am your host. This episode is with Bill Goodwin. Bill Goodwin is an author, speaker, coach, leadership coach, to be specific. We had a great conversation. He's also someone who had a very traumatic experience, and we talked about that a little bit. He had a fatal asthma attack, and he was able to come back and be with us. He can get a second chance at life. So that was wild. And it was awesome to talk to him about that. And he goes about talking about it more in his book, which we talked about that. Priority Living: 7 Pillars to Make Your Life Count. We got to talk about just the different pillars that he talks about in his book, and just a great dude to talk to. It was a really great conversation, really chill, really smooth, got through a lot. And yeah, once again, somebody I could have talked to for a long time, but I'm not Joe Rogan, as I've said many times. I can't have those kind of podcasts that are 3 hours long. I like to stick to the hour, and I hope that's what you guys appreciate. And I think everybody can get something out of this episode. I really do. So without further ado, this is episode number 97 with Bill Goodwin. That's good. All right. Make sure we're good here. Check everything. And also, I got to make sure no one tries to text me, because I have a MacBook, and I have an iPhone, so I get notifications, and I'm ADHD, so I'll be like, what's going on? So got to make sure I turn on Do Not Disturb, so we're good there. Okay. And you have a very easy name, which is always nice. Always helpful. But we go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Modern Day Overthinker podcast. My name is Collin. I'm your host. Today's episode is with Bill Goodwin. Bill, where are you joining us from?
Collin, it's so good to be with you. Thanks for having me. I currently live in Minnesota.
Oh, nice. Midwest. Where at Minnesota?
South of Minneapolis, St. Paul, in a suburb called Apple Valley.
Apple Valley. Okay. I'm in Iowa, so neighboring state.
Yes.
So it's good to be with you. It's very cold.
It's cooling off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to be inside. But we have a lot to talk about. But before we get started, I kind of wanted to give you an opportunity. I like to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell my audience what you're all about, what you're up to. And I know we want to talk a lot about purpose. So what is the short version or short form of your purpose?
Yeah. So I'm so, like I said, I'm so glad to be with you. Currently, I'm a founder of a consulting group called Priority Living Consulting Group, and I serve in the leadership space. Primarily, I help equip and develop leaders through coaching and speaking and training opportunities. I'm a member of the executive program team of Maxwell Leadership with best-selling author John C. Maxwell is one of my personal mentors. I just love being in the place where I can encourage and add value to people, and I hope to do that on our conversation today. I'm married. I've got adult children. Believe it or not, I got 2 grandsons, and just loving this season of life and grateful to be able to be here with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back a little bit and kind of go where things kind of shifted in your life. And so in 1999, you survived a fatal asthma attack. So won't get into all the nitty gritty of that. I want to get into, the after and what kind of came about after that. But tell us a little bit about that day and what happened, and then we can talk about, how everything shifted.
You bet. Well, on that day, November 23rd, 1999, as you mentioned, that was a Tuesday, 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Oh
My
boy.
family, we lived in Arizona, and I was headed to work that day, taking our small family dog at the time to the groomers to be dropped off, and stood in line. I guess many people wanted to get their fur babies ready to go for the holiday. And what ended up happening, Colin, was I started to have tightness of breath and an asthma attack coming on me. Now, I grew up with allergy and asthma symptoms, so I knew what was happening. But by the time I was able to drop our dog off and get back out to my car, I was grabbing for my rescue inhaler and wasn't getting any relief and started to panic. This was a very intense, quick and intense asthma attack. And so I drove home instead of going to work. I drove home about a mile to grab a nebulizer machine that I had, that I could
Hmm.
take some more medication. And as I went through my garage door going into my house from my car, with the little air I had left, I cried out a prayer of desperation. And I just said, Jesus, help me, Jesus. And as I got to my nebulizer machine, which was in my family room, I was there on my knees, began to put the solution in. Things began to spin. I was just really not in good shape at that point, and called to my daughter, who at the time was on a break, Thanksgiving break from school. My wife was out on a errand run at that time, and so I called out to my daughter to call 911. And within a short time, thankfully, the paramedics arrived and gave me a mask to put over my nose and mouth. And within just a
Hmm.
few seconds, I blacked out in my family room. And boy, I woke up 9.5 hours later in
Whoa.
ICU. So, Colin, I don't remember going in the ambulance. Apparently, I was in the ER. That's when I coded, was when we were in the ER. And they resuscitated me, of course, or I wouldn't be here talking to you. I've been
Yeah.
given a
Hmm.
second chance. So grateful for that. And but then they were able to intubate me and put me in a medical induced coma. I was 100% on life support, and they transferred me up to intensive care. And that's like I said, hours later is when I came out of that medical induced state. And but I had a spiritual experience that I fully outline in my book. My spirit left my body. I experienced the afterlife, and I love sharing with people to give them hope about what's on the other side of this existence. There's a great quote that says, "We are not um, human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." And
Yeah. I like that one.
wherever someone may be in their journey, I just want you to know that I outlined the full story of what I encountered when my spirit left my body before I was resuscitated. And it gives a lot of hope about what's on the other side of this existence. And so that was a life-changing, pivotal day, as you can imagine, for me. I was 28 years of age, so do the math. I'm 54 right now. And over these last 20 plus years, I have been intentional about how do I make my life count. And Colin, you and I know that you don't have to die to want to make your life count and be resuscitated, of course. But we all want to make our life count. We all want to make a
Yeah.
difference with people who make a difference at a time that makes a difference, in a way that makes a difference. And so I have developed what I call 7 pillars, and they make up the framework of a life that I call priority living. That when I breathe my last at some point in the future, I can look back over my life and say, I did the best I could
Yeah.
in order to make my life count.
Yeah. In order to be content, that's a blessing, to to be able to just do that at the end of your life and be able to be just like, okay, I lived a good life. Not a lot of people can say that. So it sounds like this experience is what shifted you to what we talked about earlier before we started recording, was you wanted to find your purpose. So tell me a little bit about like the process of like what you went through to find that purpose. Because obviously you didn't get up the next day and start writing a book. So
No,
there was,
I had no thought of writing a book. Obviously, this is 25 years later that living a life that I call priority living that has evolved into, I want to share this message because I believe that others, at least one or more of the pillars, can make a difference in someone else's life. So the first pillar, as you mentioned, is purpose. We have to discover our purpose. You were born for a purpose, and Mark Twain graciously said these powerful words. He said, the two greatest days in your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why. And that's all about purpose. And so,
yeah,
my friend, we want to be able to discover our purpose. So in that first chapter of my book, which is the pillar of purpose, I give 10 questions and I unpack those 10 questions so that the reader can do some internal work themselves and get clarity on their purpose. Clarity always precedes peace, and clarity always precedes success in life. And so I want to help individuals get real clear on their purpose. We want to start with purpose because other things flow out of that in our lives. And so purpose, I'm also a certified purpose coach with the Purpose Company out of Dallas. And we defined purpose as giving the best of what you have to help others. That's the definition of purpose. And when we're living a life of purpose, we get clarity on that. Then we receive in return for giving the best of what we have to help others, Collin, we receive what's called fulfillment. And fulfillment is when the endorphins go off in your brain and you
yeah,
feel it in your body and you go, wow, I love what I get to do. Or I feel so alive right now. Or this doesn't even feel like work for me. Your purpose can be encapsulated partially in your work, but friend, your purpose is way bigger than your work because you can retire or leave a position, but you still have purpose. You're not, that may have been part of your identity, but that's not your purpose. And so these 10 questions that I dive into really help individuals to get real clear on their purpose as to that second part of Mark Twain's quote as to why am I here and how do I make my life count?
yeah. That's some people spend their whole life searching for that purpose. So
So just
how
pick up
long do you
priority
think?
living. I'll help you.
Yeah. How long until after the incident? I had another question about that. But
Sure.
until after that, did you start developing these pillars and you're like, this is how I want to, this is going to be the blueprint from here on out?
That's a great question. I can't say I'm that smart. Can't say I'm that intentional. What I did start to do shortly after this incident was I began to think about my life and began to think about who I am, the makeup of who I am. One of those things I would say is that I am a very much a people person. I love relationships, and I won't go there now, but another pillar is connect. Because the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of your relationships. That's a Maya Angelou quote. And so I realized I'm a people person. I want to be a person who connects and who adds value to people and who lifts others up. Collin, we are all elevator people. We are either taking people up or we're pulling people down. So I wanted to be, I want to be intentional about, am I a person that can lift others up and build quality connections through relationships with others on a regular basis? And so anyway, one by one, I like to have adventure in life. I like to explore. I do work hard, but I also like to play hard. And so, that became another focus for me of explore. And then, it really, I guess, to kind of cut to the chase on your question, I didn't really create it as a framework until, till just a few years ago, where I realized, wow, these are the areas that I've been focused on. These are actually
Hmm.
pillars to this life of priority living. And so that kind of evolved over time. It wasn't like starting out to say, okay, I'm gonna structure my life and
This is the game
uh,
plan. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that would be somebody way smarter than me to come up with that, but it all has been by being intentional throughout these years of how am I choosing to live my life. I'll say it this
So
way.
you're
I'll say it this way real quick here, Colin. My mentor John Maxwell has many great quotes. One of them that I love so much is he says, "Most people accept their lives instead of leading their life." And the only guarantee that tomorrow will be better is if you're growing yourself today. So, I don't want to just accept my life. I want to be intentional to lead my life. And that's by focusing in on a life of priority living has done for me.
So I want to go back to the incident. I just have incident. I have one question, and that would be: you said, before you did end up, losing consciousness, that you kind of said that quick little prayer, or quick little message of, hey, I need some help here. Were you a man of faith before this then, and how has that strengthened your faith, if so, since then?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Yeah, I am a man of faith. I was a young man of faith in my 20s at that time. I was 28. And to take it a step further, that job, so to speak, I was headed to. I actually was a youth pastor of a very large megachurch at the
Oh,
time
wow.
when this happened. So I had many people praying for me. They learned what had happened. At that time, emails went out. People were really pressing in and praying for me. I'm so grateful for that. Which reminds me to let people know all the time, when we hear of people that are in a difficult spot or accident or something happens, and we lift up a prayer for them. I truly believe, because I'm a result, or I've seen the results of it in my life, that God moves on the behalf of people praying. So I'm so grateful for all of the people that day that prayed for me when they got word that I was, my life was hanging in the balance there of this asthma attack that had come on me. And then how has it strengthened my faith? Well, the scriptures tell us that when we are absent from the body, we are present with the Lord. And
Hmm.
that has so strengthened my faith. Again, the full story of what I experienced in heaven is something that is, I mean, pun intended here, it's out of this world. And
Yeah.
now I know that as the former book and movie talks about, heaven is real. And so my faith has been strengthened in many ways, because I've got a peek on the other side and got to come back
Hmm.
and be able to share it with others. And even as a person of faith, there are times I would be fearful, especially of death or dying, the
Yeah.
unknown. And I can honestly say that as I sit here talking to you, Colin, that I do not fear death anymore, because I know that my faith once again will become sight. And I want to encourage others with that message of hope as well.
So how long did you continue to be a youth pastor for a little while before you got into coaching then?
Well, I was a youth pastor for quite a few more years. And then my family, we moved from Arizona to Minnesota, and I actually became a lead pastor of a
Okay.
church, led a church for 18 years, and served with that wonderful group of people. And it was in that time that I was a lead pastor that I was introduced to my mentor, John Maxwell. And then
Okay.
several years after that, really had the opportunity to be mentored by John and be part of the Maxwell Leadership Team. And so I was a part of that portion of the time towards the last couple of years as a pastor, and then felt like my new season in life, which started several years ago, where I transitioned out of the church and out of pastoring to start my own consulting company called Priority Living Consulting Group, and travel and speak and coach and do what I'm doing today. So it's a testimony to, and it's not just for me, it's for our friends that are listening, that your now leads to your next. So I want to encourage you that whatever you're doing now, you don't necessarily know what's next. I didn't plan, again, I wasn't smart enough to plan this out, but it just it all unfolded in time. But I was prepared for it. I was prepared for what I'm doing now in light of raising up, developing leaders in my role as a youth pastor. I mean, I've got former students of mine that are now, in their 30s and 40s that are, one's a mayor of a city, others are running great
Right.
companies, others have wonderful families. And so I was developing leaders even when they were teenagers. And then as a pastor of a church, I was continually connecting with the mayor and business people and principals and superintendent of schools, and just really being a person that was out there in the community as well. And so therefore I can boldly say, friend, your now leads to your next. So do what you're doing now with everything you can, and grow yourself, because there'll be an opportunity that will open up for you in the future when you're ready, that will be your next, and it will be a great season of life. And I want to encourage you to do that, because your now leads to your next.
Yeah, you're giving me a lot to work with here. Okay. um, but I appreciate it. So I had heard the name John Maxwell before, because he's he's been around for a while and he's written several books,
He's written
and
he's written 94 books. Yeah, he's written a few.
just a couple. Yeah. But how did you cross paths with him?
Yeah, that was an invitation. Again, it's often who you know, not what you know,
Yeah,
that
that's true.
leads to open doors. And so a friend of mine who was a friend of John's, was being mentored by John, had a gathering. It was actually in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, in a suite there during the week, in Atlanta, and invited 30 to 40 people to come and spend the day with John. And Collin, when I first heard the invitation, I said to my friend, I'm sorry, I'd love to come. I'd love to meet John Maxwell and be in the room, but I can't. I have a dentist appointment that day. No, I'm just kidding with you. I'm just kidding with you. Whatever I had on my calendar, I would change it, of course, and
You're
went
like,
to
clear
Atlanta.
the
And
schedule.
yeah, that's right. And just had this really remarkable day with not only him, but the other, I would call them high capacity leaders that were in the
Yeah,
room. At the time, I looked around going, how did I get in this room? There was some,
yeah.
there was some more well-known people that if I named them, you would know them, that were also in the room. And, but got to meet John and get my picture with him and talk with him a few times. And he really spoke into my life directly, in one of those encounters. And I share with my friend, this is the most remarkable day. I'm not ever going to forget this day. And he said, well, you need to look, you can be mentored by John. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how does that work? And so at the
Yeah.
time, it was called the John Maxwell Team. By the way, if you're listening and you're like, I want to grow in my leadership to use in my own business or my own work, or maybe be entrepreneurial in it, please reach out to me. I would love to tell you more about how you could be mentored by John Maxwell and an incredible team of people that are surrounded by him. The John Maxwell team has grown now to about 58,000 coaches worldwide, I think, in
Wow.
195 countries, something like that. And so it's really an incredible experience. But that's how I met John, and I've had the pleasure to go on some trips with him to Branson, Missouri. I had an opportunity to travel with 49 coaches and John to Papua New Guinea. I can go on and on about that, but he's been very instrumental, as well as other incredible men that have mentored me over the years. And now I'm at a stage in life that I like to mentor others.
So besides the being mentored, what other types of, I'm not saying direct like education, like you went back to college, but I know there's some type of, there's hours and things like that you have to build in order to become well, coaching is still kind of one of those things where it's not like a therapist where you like have to have, these certain licenses and things like that. But there are things out there, certifications. So did you go out and get specific certifications to make sure, like, I don't want people to think like I'm just some guy out the street that doesn't know what he's talking about. That's just trying to make a
Right.
quick buck,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been very intentional. Obviously, I'm a certified Maxwell Leadership Team speaker, coach, and trainer. And then within Maxwell Leadership, there are different opportunities to go to another level, if you will. And so from certification, then you move into mentorship, and I joined mentorship. And then from mentorship, I joined the executive program, which is a very elite group within that 58,000. I think it's, I don't know the number, but it's a very small number percentage-wise of that group. In addition, I'm certified with Patrick Lencioni, who's another incredible leadership guy and author. I'm certified with the Working Genius model through Patrick Lencioni. I'm also certified with the Purpose Company out of Dallas as a certified purpose coach. So I continue to grow myself. I'm passionate. Pillar number 2 is all about growing yourself. I've been a lifelong learner. I will continue to be. And that started when I was young. It started when I was a teenager with a entrepreneurial uncle who would pour it into me. And this goes back to the 1980s when I was a teenager, and gave me cassette tapes of Zig Ziglar and books from Zig Ziglar and Og Mandino and all of these personal development guys back in the day, Norman Vincent Peale, so many others. And I really was growing myself as a teenager all the way through adulthood. There's other names you might recognize like Brian Tracy, different ones that have really poured into me. And now I'm really, in addition to a reader, I'm also really intentional about podcast listening. I love growing through learning from others. And then I have mentors in my life. I got multiple mentors that pour into my life and that help me become better. And you can't give away what you don't have. So I'm continually filling my cup so that
Very
I
true.
can be poured out and fill other people's cup. I'll say it this way, Collin, it's stored up before it shows up. And I think that's something that we are too quick to maybe jump into something, but we have to realize that it's stored up before it shows up. And when you're learning new things, it's important to share those things and not keep them to yourself, because you're continuing to
Absolutely.
learn even as you give away. And so we say it this way, I'd say
Gatekeeping, as they
that,
call that.
yeah, you want to be a river and not a reservoir. A reservoir just learns and keeps it to themselves and becomes a know-it-all. Nobody likes a know-it-all. But when you're a river instead of a reservoir, you're learning and you're giving away what you're learning to help elevate other people as well.
So we've gotten into 2 of the pillars so far. From what I've gathered, we bounced around a little bit, but we've gone through purpose, growth. The next one I have here is impact. So tell us a little bit more about impact.
Well, impact is all about, really making a difference. And sometimes we think that, if we're going to make a difference, we have to change the whole world. And I like to say, if we make an impact, we're changing someone's life and we're changing the world in which we live. If we all do our part in our little world, so to speak, we can make a significant impact. It's like ripples of a rock in a pond kind of thing. And so, I really outline how do you make an impact. And it's not necessarily having to change the world. But for example, if you're a mom at home and you change a diaper, you just made a difference. You just made an impact for that little one, because you brought about impact and change in their life. And so impact can look a lot of different ways. And I lay that out in that chapter of the book, as to giving clarity for the reader as to how might you be able to make an impact. Another thing, Collin, is I have a series of questions for reflection as well as for discussion that are at the end of every chapter that helps the reader really apply to their own life the content from that particular chapter.
So I want to take a step back into writing the book. I've talked to several authors, and that process, you can go through a few different ways. So describe a little bit about that process and how long it took from, starting the book to actually getting it published and, getting it in the hands of other people.
Well, the process was, as a first time author, I have other books in
Yeah.
me. I'm partway through my second book and writing it, even at this stage of the recording of this.
Yeah, you
But
got the
I
itch
really,
now.
that's right. Well, I think learning the process of how to get your thoughts on paper that makes sense. As a speaker, as a communicator for over 30 years, I've been giving messages to audiences, and so that has really made it a little bit easier to know how to put my thoughts
Mhm.
together. My book is filled with stories. My book is filled with principles and stories and quotes. So those all, come together. It's like a powerful recipe, and it makes it so that the book, I believe, is easy to read. And I've heard from many people that have picked up the book that said they don't want to put it down because of I guess the way that I've constructed and put the book together with the combination of stories, principles, and quotes. So, but the process, probably took longer than it needed to, based on my availability or my being intentional of writing. I did have to put dates on my calendar, like schedule my
Yeah.
time to write. But
Yeah.
once you get the outline done, and once you get the mind map done, that's like, this is the content for each of these
Mhm.
chapters. I never had writer block. It was easy to sit down and say, okay, today I'm writing 500 words. Today I'm writing 1,000 words, and just to keep moving through the process. And then, and then I'm published in partnership with Maxwell Publishing, as well as selfpublishing.com. That experience was absolutely wonderful, having great people along the way to guide me and to work on the editing of the book, the options for book cover, all of those things. That was all new for me. So I really enjoyed the process, and I can see now why someone like John Maxwell has written 90 some books. He says you just have to be old. He's 78 years old. He jokingly says that. But when you
That's
just
good.
get going on a concept, and you're ready to put it pen to paper, it's kind of fun to watch it all come together.
So you weren't really, I bet you have to be somewhat intimidated by the process, but once you got going, you were like, oh, okay, and then you had a lot of help and support, but you weren't doing this on your own, which is key for a lot of things in
Well,
life.
yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely.
Sorry.
One is too small a number. One is too small a number for greatness. We need great people around us. But to be clear,
Mhm.
I started on my own. I started writing this book on my own. I was
Okay.
just going to self-publish, and then along the way, I had several chapters written. I rewrote some of those, but then that's when I joined got others around me to help me, take it the next step. So I have 10 chapters in the book. I probably wrote 2.5 chapters by the time I learned, hey, this is a great team that I could have around me to help me, put my thoughts into this book. And so, that was super helpful. And yeah, I really enjoyed the process.
Yeah, obviously you probably could have done it yourself, but you have all these people that could help you, and why not make it the best book you possibly can with those
Mhm.
extra people and picking other people's brains, and especially people who have already written a book, because this is your first book. You're like, let me talk to somebody who's written 60 books or
Mm.
wherever number he
Yeah.
was at that time. I'm sorry. So it sounds like he
Yeah.
pumps out that's so many books that he has pumped out. That is incredible. That's impressive. There's got to be a record of some sort.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
If you don't mind, Colin, let me share a part of the
yeah,
introduction, because I think it really will help the listener to understand,
absolutely.
the desire to make your life count. And by the way, if someone goes to my website, they can download a free chapter of the book there. It's available at PriorityLivingBook.com, or that takes you to my business page, which is PriorityLivingCG.com, and you'll see that you can
Okay.
download a free chapter of the book there. But let me just read this because I think your listeners will resonate with this. This is part of the introduction. Too many people are going through the motions of life as described next. After a restless night with not enough sleep, the alarm clock summons you to start the day. It's the start of another series of hours you spend awake before you lay your head on the pillow again. What awaits you? What will you encounter today, both planned and unplanned? What emotions will you experience? Whom will you interact with today? Will there be a moment you will never forget today? Maybe something so positive or unexpected that you will never forget something you see or hear today. Or maybe today will be just another day. That's right, just another day. Another day that starts with you hitting snooze on your alarm before you start scrolling on your little screen, staggering out of bed
Mm.
to the bathroom, scrolling on your little screen some more, and then a cup of coffee, a moment of delight with your coffee before you are off to your scheduled events. You drive to work to look at a medium-sized screen for 8 hours of meetings, and many meetings, so many meetings, while your to-do list seems to be growing, not shrinking. After work, juggling the kids' schedules, paying the bills, figuring out what's for dinner, fitting in some exercise, drinking from the fire hydrant of problems blasting at your face. You gather in the evening to relax with others, to watch your big screen while everyone has their little screen in their hands and faces. You are 4 feet away from the ones you love, and you know they love you, yet you feel 4,000 miles apart. You are lonely, even in the room with others. Your day is a continual bombardment of emails, social media, trying to figure out AI, your hybrid work environment, the 24-hour news cycle, and never-ending demands that you add to the to-do list for another day. No wonder your chest is tight. You can't breathe at times. This is your life. Well, this is just a Tuesday. Now you know why you are so exhausted. Is this how life is supposed to be? And so I go in there to talk about the importance of time and how we don't get time back, and
Mm-hmm.
that and how we spend our days is how we end up spending our years, and how we spend our years is how we spend our life, and that we shouldn't settle for the way things are for just another day, but get off the hamster wheel of life and live purposefully, making an impact and being ready to leave a legacy with no regrets. So anyway, that's just a little glimpse of the introduction that I think helps people understand, wow, am I just accepting my life or am I leading my life? And maybe one or more of these pillars to a life of priority living can really make a difference in someone else's life. And that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you've gotten a lot of feedback from people not wanting to put the book down. Has anyone reached out and said, "Hey, this is something that's really shifted my life," and really, like, that they really appreciate you taking the time to put this together?
Oh, absolutely. I can go through many texts, many social media
Yeah.
messages that I've received of people that that are being impacted by the book. It's causing them to reflect on their own life. It's causing them to have conversations with others in their life about the direction of their life. So I'll just give you the construct of the book. The first after the introduction, the first 7 chapters are each on the 7 pillars. And then there's 3
Mm-hmm.
additional chapters, and the next chapter after the pillars is all about setting priorities. The book is about priority living, so we need to dive into how do you set priorities. And I really give an exercise there for the reader to do that will help them assess their life and then set priorities.
Hold on just a second.
It's something that people have never done before. And then we get into foundation. Your pillars of your life need to be built on a foundation. And whether you realize it or not, all of our lives are built on something. And so why not be intentional? Are you building your life on values? Are you building your life on faith? What are you building your life on? And so we get into, foundations and how to build your life on a foundation in that chapter. And then the last chapter is really all about after you're gone, and it's all about leaving a legacy. You see, inheritance is something you leave to people, but legacy is something you leave in them. And so
Mm.
that's how the book is constructed, and really gives the reader the opportunity to really be encouraged, inspired, and evaluate their life, and then what changes do you want, and course corrections do you want to make in order to continue moving forward with your life. And so that's really how the 10 chapters of the book are laid out.
So we talked about impact. I wanted to talk a little bit about rhythm, because when I think of rhythm, I think consistency. Am I onto something there? Or no? I don't know.
Not so
We are.
much. No. Yeah. Boy, my friend, you got to get the book. Let's
Yeah,
see
I gotta
here.
get the
So
book.
rhythm,
Yeah.
yeah, you do. So rhythm is all about the pacing of our life. I see
Okay.
many
Pacing.
people going no. Yep, I see many people going nowhere fast. Ooh, I need to say that again. I see many people going nowhere fast. There's a word in our society that I'm trying to get rid of in my vocabulary. It starts with the letter B. It's the word busy. I'm so busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would prefer to be productive, not busy. You see, many people are going nowhere fast. And so, Colin, I like to say direction is more important than speed. To get that clarity, going back to the first pillar on purpose, you're going in the direction to fulfill your life purpose is going to be much more beneficial. Now you're going to be able to have clarity in your life. You're going to be able to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. That leads to priorities in life, and that leads to living a life of rhythm. So rhythm is made up of rest, growth, and work. Rhythm is made up of rest, growth, and work. You can add play in there too. Rest, play, growth, and work. And it's like a upside down semicircle, if you will. And I have an image of that in the book. And it's this pendulum that swings back and forth, back and forth. And from as a person of faith, I see that in the scriptures that we are to. There's a quote from a guy, Mike Breen, who says we are to work from rest, not rest from work. You see, most of us get that backwards. We work so hard. We go, 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 go. We go, fifth gear, full
Crash.
throttle, as long as we can, until we're like, oh, I need a break. I need vacation. I need PTO. And so we live backwards. We should actually take moments of rest to replenish ourselves. Now we're ready to work, and now we're ready to get into our work in a place out of that rest. We're far more fulfilled and we're far more productive in our work. And so it is this rhythm that happens back and forth. If you're able to see it, maybe you're listening. I'm moving my hand back and forth like a pendulum, and
Mm.
that's really the rhythm of life. And so there's a lot more of the nuances that I get into on that in that chapter. But let me just tell you a personal story that in 2010, I was a lead pastor of a church at the time. Things were moving and grooving, and I had been in this pace of life for many, many years. It wasn't just that
Mm.
year, but that was the year that I hit a wall, had a complete burnout. And I'm a driven person. I'm a driver. I'm a type A, whatever words you want to say. And I
Yeah.
didn't even want to get out of bed. I had completely been depleted, and didn't know how to
Gas tank was
recover
empty.
from that. Yeah. And you don't want to get to your tank on empty, not only driving your car, but also in life. And you got to
Yeah.
replenish yourself with having good rhythm in your life. And so, for example, I had 4 weeks of paid vacation a year. I would never take it because I thought, well, I'm just gonna have to work hard to go on vacation. I'm gonna have to work hard when I come back, and so I'll just
Yeah.
keep working. I'll
I know
just
that.
keep, and that was a mindset that was actually absolutely wrong for me, and that led also part to my burnout, by not taking care of myself. And so I even give some nuggets, some tips and tricks in the book of how do you set priorities, including how do you create rhythm and space in your life. And so it was during that season for me, I had 3 months of a sabbatical. In other words, 12 weeks of no work, just go get
Uh-huh.
healthy again, go get mental
Mhm.
health and physical health in shape again. And I really recovered my life. It was such a gift that I was able to do that. But you don't want to get to that point. You want to be able to have the right rhythm on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, and a yearly basis, so that you can function at a high level and be replenished. So now I have rhythm in my life, and it is such a joy to be able to know how I'm taking care of myself. Every time you fly on a plane, they say, if the oxygen mask came down, what do they say? Put it over your
Put it on
nose and
your
mouth before
face.
helping. Yeah, before helping others, right? But many of us just go, go, go. And so I think that chapter will really speak to a lot of people as to how to create that space and rhythm that will be a healthy lifestyle for the person reading it.
I can definitely relate to that because I was at this around this time last year. My listeners are probably like, he's telling this story again, but it's okay. I have new listeners. So basically, last year I experienced a burnout, and it wasn't necessarily everybody thinks burnout like they think work, but it was just a variety of things going on in my life at one time. And I got to the point where, didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to go anywhere. I have always dealt with OCD throughout my life, but my OCD was like at max level, and
Mhm.
I just couldn't function. And I had to do the same thing. I had to take that sabbatical, like you're talking about. Wasn't an actual sabbatical, but you know what I'm saying. Where
Mhm.
I had to take some time off work, and luckily my company was cool about it, and they understood that, I had been at the company for about 7 years, and in today's world that's like 14 years. People jump around a lot more, but I got to a point where it was just like I either need to ask for help and get my priorities in order, or it was going to be a very bad ending, life ending probably situation. And I had a few things outside of me that I wanted to live for. Like, I have a nephew, my parents are still around. I kept that as motivation to reach out, because within me, I was I was toast. I was just like, I don't know where to go here. Like, I am
Mhm.
absolutely lost. And it was the best decision I ever made to take that time for myself and focus on myself. And I felt selfish for doing it at first, and then I was like, no, 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 like, you've been too selfless. Like, I don't know if there's a word for that, but like, where you're just, yeah, where you're, I wasn't putting the oxygen mask on first. There wasn't any of that.
Mhm.
It was just immediately like, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? How can I help you? Um, and then the times that I was, thinking I was helping myself, I was actually, you know, doom scrolling or binge watching a TV show, or there's a time and a place for some of that, but when you're doing it all the time, and when you're just trying to get outside of your head any way possible, that's when you're like, okay, I should probably reevaluate some things. And so I definitely know that spot, and it's very scary. And was there certain people in your life where you were married at the time, correct?
Yes.
So obviously having a supporting spouse and um, family is very important. I talk about that a lot. And so you had people that, that you could reach out to, that you could touch base with and let them know, like, hey, like, I need some help. Or at least I need somebody to talk to, just something, because my biggest thing is like is especially for any men or women listening, but we know with men it's been a really big issue. Unfortunately, we get too prideful and we don't want to ask anyone for help. We're like, oh, we got this, that term. It's like those words are just can be deadly words. I got this.
Mm-hmm.
When really, like, it's okay to be like, hey, I don't have this. Like, I need some help. I need that extra push, or I need some motivation, or I just need someone to listen to me vent about something, or get some stuff off my chest. Sorry, I said a lot. I
Right.
went on a tangent there. I do that from time to time.
Yeah, well, it
But
makes sense. We need people in our life to lean on and reach out for some support. So absolutely, that's a part of the equation for sure.
so within the pillars, we talked about rhythm. So I wanted to touch on explore a little bit. So tell us a little bit about explore. I don't want to read your whole book today, but I just want to give the
Well, we're
bullet
really
points
covering a
here for
lot, that's
everybody.
for sure. Yeah, you
Yeah,
bet. So
yeah.
explore is all about chase wonder, adventure often, explore big. And, we've been given this incredible planet to live on. It's a huge playground for us. And I'll talk to people who have said, yeah, I've never been outside of my state. I've never been out of
Mm,
my area. And that's fine. I get we have different personalities or desires. I have found as I've been able to travel internationally extensively for decades, that when we get out and we explore the world, we begin to see things that we didn't even know were there, as well as we meet people and we see cultures of different people groups. Excuse me, and it changes our understanding. It broadens our understanding of Earth and this playground that we live in. But it's more than that for me. It's also about every day we should have fun. Every day we should be intentional to do things that we enjoy. Life isn't supposed to just be the grind of work. Life is
yeah.
supposed to be enjoyable. And so find hobbies and find things that you like to do that you look forward to doing, because those are ways that you also connect with other people. Pickleball over the recent years has become such a rage and a
Oh
popular
yeah.
thing. But what happens when you go, for example, with pickleball, or you go to a golf course, or you do different things, you meet people and you begin to build connections and
Mm-hmm.
friendships with other people. And so, to chase wonder and adventure often, even as I travel different places to speak, I try to include some kind of sightseeing or some kind of experience while I'm there, because I don't want
Absolutely.
my life to just be made up of my work. I want my life to be made up of fun, enjoyment, exploring, adventure, and in doing so, I end up really increasing the enjoyment and the fulfillment in my life.
Yeah, you touched on something there that I've noticed myself, actually. I was like, this year, I was like, I haven't been to that many places. I haven't traveled a lot. And you were talking about earlier, like, I had this PTO and I'm not going to use it. And, I'm just going to come back to more work. And I had that same mentality. And, it's never fun to come back to work after a vacation. Sometimes it's all right when you're like, okay, that was just enough time.
Yeah, right.
But it's tough. But I recently went on a trip by myself. I've never been on a trip by myself before. Every trip I've been on in the past has usually been with family or friends. And I went on a trip to New York because I was like, I want to go to the big city. I want to see what it's all about. I also do stand-up comedy. So it's like the capital for that. So there's a lot of history there for a lot of comedians that have come out of New York City that have been phenomenal. So I got to just explore, and I didn't have like a checklist or anything. I just was just winging it, just doing whatever, and it was great. Like, and it was just me, and I learned some stuff. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this a little bit different next time, but I really just was able to just exist, and I talked to a lot of different people because I like to interact with people. I like to learn their stories, and uh, New Yorkers are not as mean as I thought they were going to be.
Oh, you
Everybody
must have been
gives them a
talking to
bad.
visitors.
I was talking to imports, and
Yeah, I'm just teasing. If you're from New York, I value you. I
yeah,
just was being playful there. But it's kind of fun to hear you say that, Colin. I've this last summer I had a speaking engagement and ended up after that with another business meeting that I had in Queens. But I spent a full day in Manhattan all by myself, going around Central Park and seeing all the sights, Times Square, all the different sites, and absolutely enjoyed myself. Now, is it fun if you have somebody with you? Sure, absolutely it is. But
yeah,
having a solo trip is also can be very impactful and very meaningful with the freedom to just explore. And I love hearing that you did that. And I want to encourage you to keep doing it, even if it's solo trips. Keep doing it because there's a lot to explore, and it adds to the quality of your life.
yeah. I'm starting with states and cities, and then working my way out from there.
Mm-hmm.
Because international travel is a little more expensive. So starting with places in the country that were like, especially down south. Like I haven't been down south like hardly at all. I've spent most of my life in the Midwest, or I've been to I've been to Colorado, I've been to California, but as far as like I've never gone to like Mississippi or Tennessee or anything like that, or Texas. I was there when I was 2, and I don't remember that
Oh
at
my.
all. So,
Well, you got a
and
lot of
there's a lot
exploring
in
ahead of you, my
Texas.
friend. Your best days are ahead. There's a lot for you to explore, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. My next destination is Austin, Texas, because a little bit of this is circled around comedy, and also just like different bigger cities that I've wanted to explore. And I also have a friend down there that helps too. New York, I didn't know
Mhm.
anyone. I had one friend from high school that I reached out to, and she's like, "I'm not gonna be in town." I'm like, "Well, all right." And so, but I made friends.
Mhm.
I can do that. Ever since I was a kid, I've been able to do that. Like I didn't know strangers. Like it was that's just not the way I am, and I see that in my nephew, and it's really cool to see that in him. And he's only a little over 2 now, and but he just is all about like interacting with people. It's hilarious. It's awesome to see. But yeah, what's one of the your favorite places that you visited? You say you've done a lot of travel. What is there any in your top 3, top 5 places you've been to?
Well, that's a fair question. Every place I go, I love. So every
Yeah.
place I go, I've been all over Australia. I've been to New Zealand. I've been all over Asia. I've been multiple countries in Africa. Um, I can go on, but I will just tell you that every place has beauty, and every place has
Mhm.
uniqueness, and every place has people to meet or to see, culture to experience, and yeah, I think that um, my and there's a lot of places I'll say that I have not been yet, and many places that I still
Yeah.
look forward to going someday. So, and places that I plan to return to. So that's the wonderful thing about travel is that we have opportunities to experience some of the most amazing beauty on this planet. And again, my explore pillar isn't just about travel. That's a piece of it, but it's really
Mhm.
about How can you explore every day? How can you do something different? We tend to be people of routine. We even
Yeah.
from the chapter or the part of the introduction that I read, we just do the same thing over and over again. And there's some security that comes with stability that comes with that kind of life. And then it's good to get out of your comfort zone. And I think that's what I'm getting at here is the best things in life happen outside of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you know, the things that you want, they're outside of your comfort zone or you'd already have them. So we have to stretch ourselves. We have to get out of our comfort zone and go like you did in New York. You went and you experienced things. And I'm sure there was a lot of fun and adventure in that. And there probably was some
Yeah.
moments of like, oh my gosh, where am I at? Am I going to be safe here? Is this good?
I got lost
That's
once.
getting
Yeah.
outside. There you go. And my phone was about to die when I was on the subway in the afternoon, and I'm like, I got to go get one of these external chargers, or I'm going to run out of battery on my phone, and that's not going to
Yeah.
work for me getting to where I need to go or get back to my hotel. So there can be some moments that, you know, stretch you. They get you outside of your comfort zone, and exploring is really all about that, which leads to the next pillar, which is connect. And connect is all
Yeah.
about relationships. And in that chapter, Collin, I have a pyramid that takes us from being strangers with someone and we first meet them to how do we increase the connectivity with that person by going up the pyramid. That can be a professional relationship. It can be a personal relationship. And I share about how we grow in connectivity with others, that your presence, you know, the human currency is vibe and energy. And so how are you showing up when you're meeting people? How are you connecting with people is all about, you know, how engaging you are. Are you a person that asks questions? You know, good leaders ask great questions. So follow-up questions when people are sharing with you, and have that right balance between engaging someone with conversation, with ways that you can relate to them or they can relate to you, and then times where you back off and you ask questions to hear more about their story and then not make it about you. So anyway, we dive into all of that in the sixth pillar, which is on connect. And then the final pillar is on give. And give is all about generosity, that when we live a life of generosity, I believe we live a more fulfilling life. We make our life count. And that's giving your time, giving your treasure, giving your talents to others, to lift others up. Generosity is really important. The more that you give, the more that you grow. And I love living a life of generosity to the best of my ability. And I feel like that's an important pillar that we should all have in our lives, that we get outside of ourselves and we start looking at the needs of others and how we can serve, how we can give to lift others up. You know, success is when you build a life for yourself. But significance is when you are building a life lifting others up. And once you taste significance, success never satisfies anymore. So that last pillar is all about give. It's all about generosity. And so that rounds out the 7 pillars.
That's great. Dude, you are a quote generator. You are hitting me with a lot of quotes. I love it. But I'm just giving you a hard time. Like that. That's great. I love a good quote. When I was younger, though, I used to think like quotes were cheesy and, you know, corny. And now I love hearing new quotes and, you know, cliches or whatever they are, because there's a reason why people repeat them, you know, because there's
Yes.
meaning behind them.
Well, I hope I'm
And
dropping some nuggets that really add
you're
value to
dropping
you
some
and your
nuggets.
listeners today.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Sometimes I can't take myself seriously, so I I crack a joke every once in a while. But one thing that when you reached out to me initially, when we first started talking, you mentioned that you try to help leaders cut through distractions and focus on what truly matters most. And there's
Right.
so, like you were talking about the screens earlier, there's so many distractions now. Arguably more distractions than ever. That can throw us off our path, or just take us to a different area where we're not where we want to be very easily, just because of a quick distraction. So how do you coach others to stay focused and kind of have a little more of I like to refer to it as tunnel vision, but more of a focus on what truly does matter most? And obviously that's different for everybody.
Yes, it's obviously different for everybody. Collin, it really where it comes down to is getting clarity on the direction of your life. And that's why I highly recommend having a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Professional athletes, high-performing athletes all have coaches. Many people didn't know Tiger Woods at one point had multiple coaches coaching him behind the scenes. And so high-performing athletes, as well as high-performing business people, they lean on coaches because coaches help you see your blind spots. Coaches help you get focused. Coaches help you get clarity on what it is that you're ultimately trying to do, and they bring accountability to that. So where it starts by leading ourselves. It's easy to lead other people. It's easy to be a parent and tell your kids what to do. It's totally
Mm-hmm.
another thing to go, am I doing that, or am I telling them to do it and I'm not doing it?
Yeah.
So it's easy to instruct other people. It's way more challenging to lead yourself. And that's why having someone in your life that's a coach or a mentor that you open yourself up for accountability is super beneficial in order to get things done that you ultimately want in your life. But it really comes down to leading yourself, and that's where it all starts. And it's getting clear on what is it I want in my life, and then putting together a game plan as to minimizing the distractions in order to get that done. And then you can get focused. And when you get focused out of that clarity, I'll say it this way. Andy Stanley's once said that when the vision is clear, the options are fewer and decisions are easier. When the vision is clear, the options are fewer, decisions are easier. So when I get clarity on the vision of my life, when I get clear on the vision for my family or my business or my ministry, whatever it is, when I get clear, the vision's clear. Now the options are fewer. So we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that because we're doing this. And we get real clear. Then decisions become easy. And I think so often, again, it's leading your life versus just accepting your life. It's all about intentionality. When we are intentional with the direction of our life, we're fulfilling our purpose, we're clear on that, then we're not just getting through life, and we're not just letting another day, week, month go by saying, yep, someday. Someday is a killer for progress. So
Yes.
anyway, I come back to saying it's all about getting that clarity first and leading yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming up on time here. A question I like to ask people that are on my show is, we both experienced, those dark periods. There's times where we almost, gave up, lost hope. And there may be someone listening right now or listens in the future who is struggling or in that spot. What would be something that you would say to that person that is stuck in
Yeah.
the trenches?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say to you, my friend, I just want to encourage you. Don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to hear that again. Don't make a permanent decision on a temporary problem. You're going to get through this, whatever it is you're going through. You have better days ahead. Matter of fact, your best days are still ahead. So I want to encourage you. Speaking of quotes, the founder of Chick-fil-A, Truett Cathy, once asked a question, and then he answered his question. He said, "Who needs encouragement?" And he answered it by saying, "Everyone who's breathing." So we all need encouragement. We need somebody to come alongside us and walk with us. But I just want to encourage you, if you're in a difficult season of life or a dark season of life, I want to encourage you with hope. that better days are coming, and so just keep pressing on, keep moving forward, find someone to talk to, and you're going to get through it because your best days are ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a good way to end things. I always struggle with ending these episodes because especially with somebody, because you're a talker and I'm a talker and we could go forever. So I really appreciate you taking the time to have a good conversation with me today. And yeah, I hope to have more conversations in the future and stay connected. I like to stay connected with my guests. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day.
Collin, this has been amazing being with you. And people, I know you'll probably put the show in the show notes, all my links, but please find me on social media. I'm at LinkedIn at Bill Goodwin, Facebook, Bill Goodwin. And then you can find me through my business page or my book page, which is PriorityLivingBook.com or PriorityLivingCG.com. And like I say, you can download a free chapter of the book on that website. And I sure look forward to connecting with you. And I hope that the book may find your way into your Amazon cart, because it'll find a way into your mind and your heart and really be an encouragement to you. So thank you, Collin, for having me. I really appreciate the connection. I look forward to staying in contact with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. I appreciate it.